When we look at these signs which are outside and we reflect and we contemplate, we come to the realization of the reality of death even. I remember, when I was young, and sometimes the parents would take you to the slaughterhouse to slaughter in Eid, in Bakrid, in Eid al-Qurban, where you slaughter an animal. Now, it is highly recommended to do that, that every person should, when they have reached to an age, 18, 16, baligh, that is a highly recommended act, that one should perform qurbani. Not that one should become a butcher, that is a profession that is makruh, however, it could be wajib as well. But as a doing qurbani itself, slaughtering of an animal is highly recommended, that one should really know and learn how to do that. What is the halal way of doing things? Now, you can even notice now, and that is when an animal dies, when a person dies, there are 3 ghusl which become wajib on that person. One is a ghusl which is considered to be the ghusl-e-mayyat, are 3 actually. They give 3 sets of ghusl. One is with kafur, one is with bir, that leaves, and then one is with plain water. And one of the ghusuls in these 3 ghusl is, one of the ghusl is ghusl-e-janabat. Because the mayyat reaches climax, because the mayyat becomes junub when his soul is about to leave this world, right? So when the soul is dying, it becomes junub. So I also noticed that when you slaughter an animal, right, you would see that this animal, when it's about to leave and it's moving his feet and hands, and then it kind of, money comes out and it becomes junub. So even we are also animals, we are rational animal, but the same physicality applies. So that's one of the reasons why you have 3 ghusl. One of the ghusl is ghusl-e-janabat. But in terms of our calculation, janabat itself, it's a moment of climax and ultimate pleasure. When a person becomes junub, when a person reaches that climax, he has pleasure. So death is, in reality, is nothing but pleasure, right? That's what happens. However, there could be other factors for a person at that moment, for example, pain and aching and this and that and the other. But when that pleasure comes, all of the other pains deteriorates. One is not focused on that pain as such, on that limitation as such, right? So it kind of reaches to a higher level of consciousness, right? But the body becomes najis, and then there's this ghusl that one is performed, that, in order that when the body is buried, it should be buried intact. So death is nothing but a level of pleasure and takamul and perfection. A person becomes perfect, right? Every individual, the state of consciousness increases, regardless of Muslim or not Muslim. Yes, the person, when realizes that one have not done, as Bahjat says, that when a person dies, and when a person dies, whether that be mu'min or kafir, when a mu'min dies, he would say, why did I not die early? When a kafir dies, he will also say, why did I not die early? The mu'min will say, why I did not die early? Because there's so much of reward and so much of blessing for the person, for the mu'min. Because ad-dunya, as Amirul Mu'mineen or one of the imams says, ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. Because this dunya is considered as a prison for a mu'min. There's a lot of limitation for a mu'min in this dunya. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, you behave this way, you do that. Apart from this is for us. But dunya sijnul mu'min, for mu'min who is unable to see the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya. Because dunya is dani. Dani means low. So the manifestation and reflections of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in full capacity cannot take place in this dunya. Because the beauty of Allah is something else. This dunya is so low. So for a mu'min, it is a prison. Because he is unable to see the beauty of Allah to its full capacity, right? That's why the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they say, we yearn for the next life. Because in the next life, one is able to see the beauty of Allah in the full capacity, in the greater capacity. Not in the full, because you cannot see the full beauty of Allah, but in the greater capacity. Because our body and this world does not have the ability to see that beauty. That's why many a times Amirul Mu'mineen or other Imams, while doing munajat, while reciting Quran, while praying, they go unconscious. Because this world did not have the capacity to see that world. So they go unconscious. The body just puts off. It's like a fuse, it just shuts off. If too much power comes on a line, the fuse goes off, right? So the same way, when, for example, Imam was saying, Talbiya labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, while reciting, he goes unconscious. Then the slave will come and sprinkle some water on his face, and then he'll come to life. And they say, why did you do that? I was in communion with Allah. I was connected to Him. Or while reciting Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, or while reciting Maliki Yawmiddin, he would say, I saw the Malik of the Day of Judgment. And this world just disconnects. Because this world do not have that capacity. Our eyes, these eyes do not have the capacity to see that light. These eyes must shut to see that light, to see that nur. That's why, you would have Prophet would go in a state of unconsciousness when he would have wahi, for example. Or some of the wahis are in a form of dreams, because the dream have that medium to transfer that subtle reality, that latif reality, right? So this world, ad-dunya sijnul mu'min, which means that, okay, it's a prison for a moment. Oh, this is halal, this is haram, you can't do this, you can't do that, on a lower level. But on a higher level, it is a prison for a moment because he's unable to see the beauty of Allah. He's unable to see the beauty of the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. In the physical world, what do we have to do? We have to travel all the way to Karbala for a ziyarat. But in the spiritual world, don't we want to see, the beauty of Imam Hussain? We cannot see it now. But when we go in Barzakh, as Agha Jawadi Aumili says, that once a year, in the whole 1 year, the mu'mineen will have the ability, or will be given the chance, or will be blessed by looking at the reflection of the face of Imam Hussain alayhi salam in Barzakh. Not the face itself, but the reflection, tajalli, but the reflection of the face of Imam Hussain in Barzakh, they will see once a year. They will be given that opportunity. And they will wait for 1 whole year, that when that will happen, that we'll be able to see that beautiful face. So obviously in this dunya, we are limited. For a mu'min is in prison. Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. So therefore, as this dunya is limited, is unable to see the reality of the next world, which is Barzakh. Right. So what happens is that when he goes to that world, regardless of a mu'min or a kafir, he is able to see whether the Jannah or the azab. So the kafir would say, oh, why I did not come earlier? Why the kafir will say that? Because the more I stayed there, the more azab for me. If I would have died early, would have come here, less azab for me. So the mu'min will say that, oh, I wish I should have come earlier. And the kafir would say, oh, I wish I should have come earlier. The mu'min will say, I wish I should have come earlier because all of the beauties are there. The tajalliyat ilahi are there. And the kafir will say, oh, I wish I should have come earlier. There would have been less azab for me. There's more azab. If I stay longer in this world, walk on this earth by committing sin, there's more azab. Right? So therefore, Barzakh is that place where the strength of consciousness and certainty becomes higher, regardless. The intellectual capacity to see the angels is higher. Okay, let me ask you this. Is the fetus in the womb of the mother have greater capacity, or is a child which is born have a greater capacity? Or a human being who's on this earth? Obviously, a child and a human being on this earth have a greater capacity than the child, than the fetus, than the janeen, the fetus in the womb of the mother. Over there's no light, there's no taste, there's no, speech, there's no listening. But when that child comes here, there's different light, different colors, different speech, different. So as they say that we are in a womb of the mother right now. We are in the womb of the mother nature right now. But when we leave this world, we will come out of the womb, the same way as a child comes out. And when it comes out, it's a different world altogether. The next world is completely, as there is variety here and multiplicity here, right? And at the same time, there is light, there is different grades of light. Compare this to the next world, which is in Barzakh. There will be more variety. There will be more multiplicity. There will be more different grades of light that we have here. And over there, the intellectual capacity have already developed to a certain stage than to a child which is born. When a child is born, it gradually understands, develops that intellectual capacity, and then differentiate with the colors and whatnot. But for us, our intellectual capacity have reached to a certain point which we are able to differentiate between truth and falsehood, between haqq and batil, between good and evil, between many other things. So when we enter Barzakh, we have a capacity to judge certain things and understand and appreciate certain things. That's what it is. So life is nothing but a journey that at death. Now the question is that some people die late, some people die early, right? Now the philosophers, they say that the accelerating process of the intellect develops for that person, and that person is able to dwell in the realm of Barzakh when he enters it. Very swiftly and quickly, it just happens. Because for an intellect to reach to a certain age, because as there is a narration from Hazrat Amir as well, one of the greatest teachers is known as experience. Tajrube, सबसे बड़ा उस्ताद या मुअल्लिम कहा गया है तजुर्बा, हज़रत अमीर के हदीस में कि तजुर्बा सबसे बड़ा उस्ताद है. So a man with experience, he learns a lot. A person may not go to, any sort of university or hawza or college, but because of the experience, there are certain facts that comes about and he understands it very clearly, which is needed for him in the hereafter. Right? So therefore, for a child, for a young person, that experience is not there. But for an older person, a senior person, when he reaches at that age, when he's departing from this world, those experiences are there and is ready for the next world. So here, the philosophers, they say that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, accelerate the process of this person, of this individual, if he's dying young, to enter the next world. Because la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not test a soul that does not have the capacity to do so. Allah will not transfer a soul, regardless of a mu'min or a kafir, in the barzakh unless or until that soul is ready to understand, to live, to dwell. Right? How come this? Yes. Many Muslims also have experienced this phenomena as well, that they already see. Like for example, you have narratives where people, and as a matter of fact, in America they have a NDE institute, which is near-death experience in hospitals. So where they talk about when they are about to leave this dunya, they start seeing the people in the next world and the family members. And there's a riwayat from the sixth Imam which says that the mu'mineen and the family members and obviously the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, they come when the mu'min is about to leave this dunya. You know, it's a guarantee, because Siddiqa Kubra Fatimatu Zahra Salamullah alayha have mentioned that I will come at the time of death. When a lover of Hussein is leaving, I will be there to help that person for that transfer to take place. Inshallah, we'll continue on Barzakh tomorrow. Today was a bit of a delay because of things that we were engaged in, inshallah. Now it's time for Azan. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.